They look at the جميع أصحاب محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله والكف عما شجر بينهم. This now is also from our belief, that we ask for Allah's mercy upon all of the companions of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his family, and we keep away from speaking about the disputes that occur or the issues that occurred between them. So this now is another position in our creed. Whereas we see the Khawarij and the Rawafid and the Nawasib, right? These are three groups now. The Khawarij made takfir of Uthman and Ali, and the Rawafid, who make takfir of most of the Sahaba, and the Nawasib, they show bigotry and fanaticism towards some of the companions against Ali radiallahu anhu. So we are not from any of these people. We are free from all of them. Because each of these groups, what do they have? They have political grievances. They look at the events which happened among the companions, by which the companions were tested, and they made ijtihad, and they saw that what they were doing was the truth, and they were seeking the face of Allah. It wasn't because of hawa, it wasn't because of any worldly reason. They genuinely believed that for me to do this in this situation, this is what I must do. Otherwise, I will be punished by Allah. They believed, they made ijtihad, they believed that what they were doing was with truth, and they had to do that. So Allah will reward them. Allah will, if they made ijtihad and they erred, they will be rewarded. None of it was from hawa, right, from desire. Whereas these groups, the Khawarij, the Rawafid, the Nawasib, they interpret these events and then they ascribe ill intentions. And then they raise these issues which then undermines the integrity and the uprightness of the Sahaba, which then undermines the religion. Right? This is why, from the clear distinctions of Ahlul Sunnah, we do not raise these issues, these controversies, unless it is to explain and clarify, but we do not raise these issues and start speaking about them to the common people. Right? This is from the way of Ahlul Bid'ah wad Dalal, who wish to undermine the status of the companions because of these false interpretations. The Shaykh goes on to mention these groups, and he says that he speaks very severely against the Rawafid, and he makes dua against the Rawafid, that these people describe Abu Bakr and Umar, a'udhu billah, that they are disbelievers, qabbahumullah, al-dajjalin al-kadhabin, they are liars, they are falsifiers, may Allah disfigure them, and may Allah, this is zandaqa, and this is nifaq for you to even say this. So the Shaykh speaks very severely against these people and makes dua against them. And then he says, as for Ahlul Sunnah, they follow the Quran and the Sunnah, and they speak with what Allah spoke with. وَالسَّابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُم بِإِحْسَانٍ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. Those foremost in faith from the Muhajirin and the Ansar, and those who follow them in goodness, Allah is pleased with them and they are pleased with Him. And he goes on to say, وَأَعَدَّ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِي تَحْتَهَا الْأَنْهَارِ خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا أَبَدًا ذَلِكَ الْفَوْزُ الْعَظِيمُ. Allah has prepared for them gardens beneath which rivers flow, remaining therein forever. That is the greatest, the mightiest success. Here is a testimony from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah is pleased with all of the Muhajirin and the Ansar and whoever followed them in goodness, that Allah is pleased with them and they are pleased with them and they are pleased with Him. So this is a clear refutation of the Rawafid and likewise of the Khawarij. And the Shaykh goes on to mention many other ayat from which we can deduce that the companions are praiseworthy. He goes on to mention the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, Muhammadun Rasulullah وَالَّذِينَ مَعَهُ أَشِدَّاءُ عَلَى الْكُفَّارِ رُحَمَاءُ بَيْنَهُم. These are now the companions of Allah's Messenger, that they are severe and stern upon the people of disbelief, and they are gentle and merciful among themselves. The Shaykh goes on to say how the companions spread Islam and how they saved nations from disbelief. He explains that they did this with da'wah to Allah, upon wisdom, with good preaching, with hikmah, with maw'idatul hasana, and how when they engaged in jihad, that jihad was not terrorism, right? Islam was not spread by terrorism, by whatever, but it is by da'wah to Allah, with hikmah, with maw'idatul hasana, with argument in ways which are best. And they presented it to various people. And through them, the people were guided. And those who showed stubborn resistance and rejection and who fought against the Messenger's companions, then they fought back. Right? And this is why jihad has been legislated. It is to protect the instrument of preaching, to make sure there are no obstacles. Then the Shaykh goes on to say, even the nations like the Romans, when they saw the companions, he says, لما رأوا أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وسمتهم وهيئتهم وأخلاقهم وتصرفاتهم قالوا هؤلاء والله خير من الحواريين. Right, so when these people, when they saw the companions, the Christians, they saw that these companions, that the way that they appear to us, this is like the disciples of Isa alayhi salam, because the descriptions match, like when they saw their humility, their lack of pride and ostentation, lack of affluence and so on and so forth, but simple, humble people. They saw the traits that they in the Injil that they see for the disciples. They saw that the companions are even more worthy of those descriptions than the disciples of Isa alayhi salam. And this is what they said. They said, هؤلاء والله خير من الحواريين. And these people, we know that they used to venerate the disciples. They even used to worship the disciples. So when they saw in the companions these traits and these qualities, many of them became Muslim just by virtue of that, because they were amazed to see the humility of the companions, that unlike their kings, sitting on thrones, surrounded by people, all the lavish clothing, the luxury and everything, yet when they come to the leader of the Muslims, and the way he's dressed, and the way he travels on a donkey with just a thing. So when they saw these things, they saw this description here is what we are seeing in the Injil of the disciples of Islam. So they became Muslim by way of this, by way of seeing the companions, the effect of revelation upon them, by way of the da'wah with hikmah, maw'idatul hasana, and likewise their adl and their justice in the way that they behaved. All of this made these people to come into Islam. This is what entered people into Islam. It's not as the Christians say or the Yahud say, that it is bloodshed and war and violence and terrorism. All of this is known to be a lie. It is kadhib. It is propaganda. It is evil. In fact, the Shaykh goes on to say, look at how he goes on to look at these people. These same people who make these claims against our religion, that it was spread in this manner, he says, بل الخبثاء يذهبون إلى بلدان المسلمين فيقتلونهم في بلدانهم يغزون بلدانهم ثم يتباكون ويقولون الإرهاب من الإسلام. It's a beautiful point, right? That these people, they go to the lands, they wreak havoc in those lands, they kill the Muslims, and then they say, oh, terrorism is from Islam, right? And we don't agree with it. We reject terrorism. Irhab is not from our religion, right? Not from our religion. Islam is to call to Allah with wisdom, with patience, with good argument, with good preaching. And if you stand in the way and you fight and you commit injustice, then jihad is for the protection of the instrument of preaching, right? But as for this, when you complain and you make these things up and you say, you ascribe the Khawarij to Islam and ISIS to Islam and Al-Aqīdah to Islam, and this somehow is the picture of Islam, this is false. We reject it. And this is known that Islam did not spread in this way. This is well researched and well known. But the point the Shaykh is making, how can you make that claim when you are the ones, you come to the lands and you destroy them, you wreak havoc in them, and you kill men, women and children, and then born out of those circumstances of turmoil and chaos, there come these evil people, the Khawarij, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and then you say terrorism came from Islam. Then what was what you did? Is that not terrorism? Subhanallah. This is like hypocrisy, and this is hypocrisy. So irhab, we reject irhab. We reject terrorism. We reject what the Khawarij are upon. This is nothing to do from our religion. They left Islam. They are Khawarij from the view of some scholars that they are outside the fold of Islam even. Ibn Baz has this view that the Khawarij, because they make takfir of the Muslims and they fight against the Muslims, they are not Muslims. Some of the scholars hold this view. So we deny and we reject that al-irhab is from our religion. So the Shaykh goes on to mention that what these companions did when they made da'wah to Allah, that وَلِأَنْ يَهْدِيَ اللَّهُ بِكَ رَجُلًا وَاحِدًا خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنْ خُمُرُ النِّعَمِ. Right? This is what the companions were motivated by. The Messenger said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that Allah guides through you one man is better than you than the best of treasures. So how about when they guided whole nations of people who entered into Islam in droves and droves and droves? This is the tremendous reward that the companions have, and it shows their tremendous status. And then the Shaykh goes on to describe the things which happened among the companions, whether in the battle of Siffin, the battle of Jamal. These are issues where some made ijtihad, some were wrong, some were right. All of them, it wasn't because of hawa, but it was because of ijtihad and seeking the face of Allah. They all saw the situation in a particular way. They thought that they were doing good and they want rectification, and they are fighting for what is just, and so on and so forth. So the Shaykh says that even that fighting, there was a group that were with Ali, a group that were with Muawiyah, and most of the companions refrained from that fighting. In fact, he says that only about 30 of the companions were involved. As for everybody else, then they refrained and they kept away to such a degree that even a companion such as the likes of Al-Walid bin Uqba, right? Al-Walid bin Uqba, something has been said about this companion. Even he abandoned and left and kept away from the fighting. Right? This shows that most of the companions were not involved in this issue which happened, which means that the picture presented by the people, whether the Rawafid or the Orientalists, that no, most of the companions were not involved in these issues. Right? So the Shaykh finishes with that point. So all of it together collectively, we can see that the issue of the companions is very important because it ties to the veracity of revelation of the Quran, of the Sunnah, because they are the carriers of the religion. Therefore, any question about them, speaking ill of them, raising the issues about them, we know such a person intends evil, he intends misguidance. We only speak about them with good, we make dua for them, we ask for Allah's mercy upon them, and we accept that they made ijtihad and they will be rewarded. Nevertheless, that they have tremendous rewards and tremendous striving in the path of Allah that no one can reach, and no one can reach their iman, the likes of iman of Abu Bakr. Finally, and we finish on this point, which is point number 6, وَأَنَّ الْعَشَرَةَ الَّذِينَ سَمَّاهُمْ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم وَشَهِدَ لَهُمْ بِالْجَنَّةِ عَلَى مَا شَهِدَ بِهِ وَقَوْلُهُ الْحَقِّ. So then we also believe, as part of our belief in the companions, that the 10 who the Messenger of Allah ﷺ mentioned by name and he testified for them paradise, then his statement is true and we believe it to be true. So this is the hadith, as you know, the famous hadith, Abu Bakr fil Jannah, wa Umar fil Jannah, wa Uthman fil Jannah, wa Ali fil Jannah, wa Talha fil Jannah, wa Zubair fil Jannah, wa Abdurrahman bin Auf fil Jannah, wa Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas fil Jannah, wa Sa'id ibn Zayd fil Jannah, wa Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah fil Jannah. These are the 10 companions mentioned by name in this hadith. Abu Bakr is in paradise, Umar is in paradise, Uthman is in paradise, Ali is in paradise, Talha is in paradise, Zubair is in paradise, Abdurrahman bin Auf is in paradise, Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas is in paradise, and Sa'id ibn Zayd is in paradise, and Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah is in paradise. All of these are mentioned, and notice that even among these are those among, such as Ali and Zubair and Talha. There were issues which happened among them in what happened, but they're all included together in the same hadith as being from the inhabitants of paradise, which means that they are forgiven and the ijtihads, they are rewarded either way, and that they are all in paradise. This is a refutation again of the Rawafid and other people like that. So with this, and that's because they all sought the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and nothing will harm them what they fell into, because they only desired that which is good. so we will not harm them. And so this concludes the first 6 points. We spoke about the issue of Iman, and then the Kalam of Allah, then the issue of Al-Qadr, and then the issue of the companions. All of these are from the great, mighty, important issues of creed. So we'll conclude there. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala nabina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi.